to Nothing Moves Without Us, a bi-weekly podcast where we discuss the past 30 years of Black entertainment through movies, media, TV shows. I'm your host, Clifford.
And I'm Thomas.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah, it feels good to be back, man. You said that so nicely too. Go ahead, Cliff. Go ahead. I see you.
I always appreciate your props. I always appreciate your
Yeah,
props.
yeah. We've been doing it. We're 6, 7 episodes in now, so it's great.
I should get it right the first time, right? But it took me a couple of times.
It's okay. We growing, baby. Yeah. How's everything going?
Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Like I said, it's been real quick before we started the recording. Like I said, it's just been a good past few weeks in terms of just doing more what I need to for myself. It's establishing. I guess the word is like boundaries, but also this, cutting the short shit short, as they say. And it's been working. It's been working, man. I've been just very productive and putting more effort in, and just realizing my setbacks, man. Yeah, usual.
Yeah.
What about you, man? What about you? I saw you won another award. I saw Date While You Wait won another award. Let's talk about that.
You always like to bring that up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I think exactly what you just said is something I'm learning as well, is doing a better job celebrating my wins, and being one of those people who are open to sharing it. And I won't jump deeply into it, but you and I had a conversation offline a little about social media and TikTok, and looking at some of the value there and being more open to being to sharing in those spaces, because it's a challenge for me. Um, so this past week, as I was telling you earlier, I took some time to create these accounts more so, for my businesses to be able to put it out into the world and stop being kind of a hermit.
Right.
But yeah, I'm good, bro. Things are good. I'm always glad to be back with you.
What's your innate, I guess, hesitation? Excuse me.
Bless you.
What's your like innate hesitation? Thank you, with posting on social.
It's just taking the time to put together a narrative, and I feel like when you do it more specifically from a business, you want everything to be cohesive. You want everything to look good. You want everything to be organized. Just want to throw things out there. And I'm kind of one of those people that I like organization. I like things segmented,
Right.
and that's been a challenge. And then also, I have so many different things that I do. What takes precedent over something else?
Right.
What's the focus? So I've been really kind of dialed in to sharing all the things I have going on, but doing it in a way where it makes sense for me and who I am, and just being more open to it.
Right. I think part of I think we have a similar um, hesitation with social media. And for me, like I always ebb and flow, which is part of my issue with like productivity. Sometimes I'll just be in a zone and I'll just dish things out for like a week, 2 weeks, a month. Then I'll just fall back. This might kind of transition into some of the pre-show topics we want to talk about with like mental health. Just because of mental health. And for me, sometimes it's not seeing the feedback, right? Like, the value, the like doesn't really equal the value, but you feel it. Like I said earlier, right? Sometimes you just feel a way.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's not hidden, it's not connecting. But like those moments for me are kind of time to pause and like reflect and see what's not working, fine tune. And like since I started doing the TikTok, like I started posting on my personal one, another podcast that I do with my homegirl, and ours, and it's seeing the connectivity, saying, okay, this is just another lane, and I just need to find what works, man. Find what works on this level while still doing what I need to do for myself on another level. We talked like earlier last month, and you were saying how like now you're using a calendar, you're kind of planning ahead. So that's something that I think I might consider also in terms of putting it out there, man. Like putting it out there, and whatever hits, and just kind of riding that wave.
Yeah, and also, it's okay to move at your pace. I think sometimes we lose sight of that, where we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses, and it's like I'm not one of them. I'm a Knox. so
Right.
so just staying focused on the task at hand, but doing it my way, and
Yeah.
always growing as an individual. So um,
What's your pace? What's your pace?
I would say
How would you define your pace?
yeah. Well, one is talking about just being one of those people who like things organized. Like I have a set schedule on how I do everything, and it's hard for me to transition that into the social media world.
Right.
So Monday I might do DYUA stuff. Tuesday I might do podcast stuff, and that's literally what I work on for the entire 8 hours of the day. And if something comes in, it's very rare that I deviate and focus on that thing. I might reply to an email or something, but you won't catch me spending more than 10, 15 minutes on something else, depending on what I have going on that particular day. So, and I also think from a pace standpoint too, I'm the type of person that I can't talk or I can't multitask. I can't do multiple things at once. If
Right.
I'm working on something, my phone is to the side and I'm just focused on that. And if I get any type of distraction or it's, something gets in the way, I have the I have the personality where I can tell somebody, yeah, this is not the time. I'll hit you up a little
Right.
bit later, or we'll talk about it
Right.
later.
Right.
So essentially, yeah, that's what my piece is.
I think it also the algorithm. Like while you were speaking, I was also thinking about the algorithm, right? Like you have the set schedule, um, where you put things out, but you know that there's an algorithm, and if you don't play with the algorithm's rule, then what you're putting out has low reach and low. It becomes like a low effort purse. Excuse me, a low effort post. Like it's like the game has changed, right? It's no longer just about creating the content and putting it out there. It's about being aware of all the rules and how things are changing every single week, which makes it more challenging. And I think, like for me and you, like we're naturally creative, so our focus is just wanting to create and put it out there. And since we don't have assistants or interns or whoever working for us who enjoy like the technical aspect work, some of the work we do loses value. I think for everyone, like the, that's the point of collaboration. At some point, you find people who pick up where you're just not genuinely interested, and think things hit off. So yeah.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head.
Um, I was gonna say I feel like that's a good transition
Yeah,
to talk about Westbrook to the Lakers, man.
Ru-
It's
Russell
go
Westbrook
ahead, go
to the
ahead.
Lakers. What is happening?
So I think initially, I know you also want to talk about like Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, and mental health. And since you brought it up, I feel like it kind of ties into mental health with LeBron James, and I'll tie it in like later, toward the end.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm number one. I'm not just a pretext. I'm not a basketball person anymore. I used to watch it a lot as a kid. I really stopped watching once like Kobe hit his prime, and like working at the NBA store. Like that was like the prime of being in basketball, enjoying it. But then you just see it's just a business, and it's not really about the. For me, it's not about the skill and the. Well, it's no longer about the skill. It's no longer about the sport. It's just about the business and making money, which I get. Like I said, the game's the game. Um, but he couldn't make it in Cleveland. LeBron James couldn't make it in Cleveland for whatever the reasons are. Went down to Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and won some chips. Came back to Cleveland, won some chips. Um, and ends up in LA. And this year was supposed to be like their year, right? Like he got everything he wanted. He got the shortest season because he's so tired from playing 82 games and working so hard and being on the court 24/7 because he wants to be prime time guy. But they they got eliminated. Who they get eliminated by?
This the Phoenix Suns,
Okay, they got eliminated by the Suns.
first round.
Uh, First round. Damn, see, right, right. So he has Anthony Davis, right? Anthony Davis is, I think he's still kind of. How long has he been in the league? Like maybe
Probably like
six,
yeah, 5 6
6 7
years.
years.
But he was
Yeah.
injured. He was injured in the playoffs. So that's
Okay.
that's something that the Lakers kind of fall back on. Is like, yeah, one of our best players were injured.
Right, right, right. One out of the how many players on the team? 15. What's the roster?
He's a pretty important player though.
I know, no, no. I know he's dope, but the whole aspect is the team aspect, right? Since me not watching modern basketball and really looking at the older players, like you always have someone. You always have someone who can step up. But now the focus is really just for me. It looks like it's just really on the big three. So he got his third person. He got his Russell Westbrook. And I was thinking that it feels like LeBron James is a sore loser. And I was thinking about like his life transition, right? Like, I mean, he was what, like 6'5" in high school. Like, always been a tall kid that's destined for the NBA. So you consider that most of his life. I want to consider and I want to believe that most of his life he has gotten what he wanted. At a certain point, once he like started on his path to basketball, everything he wanted he got because people invested time and energy to him because they knew that it would pay off for him and them in the long run. So I see this play and I see him as being a sore loser. Like, all right, I didn't win the chip with just me and Davis, so let me call in a third big man to kind of get this going. Um, and it just feels corny to me, right? It feels corny in terms of this culture. It feels corny in terms of what it lead, what you know, what it's already led to for the sport of basketball, and what it for me, what it teaches young children, right? If you can't win on your own, just keep stacking the team. Keep stacking the team until you get what you want. You get your results. So I'll leave it at that, just to kind of get your feedback. And yeah,
Yeah, well, just to I guess backpedal for a sec. The reason we wanted to talk about this was we wanted to share how culture or how this particular move affect affects the culture, right? And you brought it up toward the end around young people seeing kind of like buying championships, right? Not working hard. Um,
and
and
not saying that he doesn't work hard. He does work hard. He does work hard.
yeah, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but if you want to dive
Okay,
in a little
okay.
deeper, you can you're more than welcome to dive a little deeper. But that's essentially what I heard. It. What did you mean when you were saying around young people and the culture and culture?
Just stacking the team. It's easier to. So like I like the way that you phrase it because it kind of challenges my perspective, right? So he definitely works hard. I know he works hard, as a player and as an athlete. I think on one aspect, the times where I have watched him play, it's a lot of him being the go-to guy continuously. So I understand the need for less NBA games, and I understand the need of wanting to rest. Like, there's this whole from what I'm aware of. Again, I don't watch athletes taking days off. Sit in the game, sitting games out to rest and recuperate. Um, and it's for me, it's not showing up to work, right? Like work is work. I understand that it's entertainment, but work should be work. And I think it sets the precedent to let people know that once you reach a certain level in life, you can just kind of do what you want to do, and you can take away from the experience, right? Like if I go to a Nets game, like me and Alex had a Brooklyn Nets and Lakers bet. And it was like a 5 year, we called it a 5 year gentleman bet. And at a certain point, whichever team had the best record, we would like, the loser buys the winner tickets to a game and we sit down and watch. So if I go to a Lakers Nets game and LeBron James wants to be off today, I'm disappointed. As a fan, I came to watch the best athlete in the world play, but he wants a rest day. So I think it's a disservice to people who are fans, people who are supporters. And I think for the going back to like the younger children, it shows them that they they don't have the only responsibility they have is to themselves. I think that's kind of what it is. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I hear you. I have a slightly different perspective, uh, more specifically around this trade for Westbrook. I do think that the Lakers and the big market teams they have a competitive advantage because of the cities they're in, because of the economy in those cities, and the business opportunities for players. So a lot of players want to go to certain destinations, right? Miami, New York, LA. So that's one side of it, but I also want to take a different kind of perspective because I hear what you're saying. I think that that's that's definitely those are definitely points. And one thing about LeBron, I do give him credit. He don't sit out unless he hurt. Like he will play.
Uh,
He will play. So I give him credit there. But uh, when we talking about this trade, what came to mind for me is um, how Russell Westbrook is maturing as a player, right? And
yeah,
the reason that came to mind was because he's been a part of these teams that have had great play. He's played with probably three or four of the best players ever, like that are ever
Right,
going to
right,
play
right.
the game, and he hasn't been successful in other people's eyes. He's been successful in his eyes. One thing that he continues to say is like, "Hey man, I don't need to necessarily win championships. I just want to be able to take care of my family, like get out the hood and take care of my family, and inspire people, inspire young people." And that's kind of his mindset. Um,
Eh.
and wait, hear me out.
No, no, I wasn't interjecting. I
Okay.
paused. I paused. I got
So
you. I know I talked a lot.
so I think when you look at that side of things, it changes it straight up for me because as, some people may or may not know, he's from LA. He went to UCLA. So going to LA to play is, in some ways is any kid's dream that's from that city. You always hear DeMar DeRozan talking about it. You hear Kawhi, you hear Paul George. All those guys are from the LA area. So when I heard that he got traded to LA, it really didn't. It wasn't no big thing to me because from a basketball standpoint, I don't think they're going to be that great. I, I watch a lot of basketball. I just don't think it takes a lot to more than three people to win a championship. You have all these teams who have the big three, and it does. They didn't win last year, but also injuries played a huge part in that, including the Lakers. And then on the flip side, I just really looked at it as if Russell Westbrook is going to be successful or he's going to win a championship, what better place to do it? Like of all the chances he's had in his career, this is the chance. He's home. There's really no excuse. He's home. He's where he's from. He's on a team that has the talent, that has the players. He has arguably the best player ever to play the game. There's no
Right.
excuse. Um, and from a cultural standpoint, I just really believe that um, sports in general, they're kind of all over the place because, and me and my dad, we talked about this morning, how players, you get picked by a team, you sign a contract, and then that team trades you, or that team lets you go, or you underperform and they let you go, or even if you overperform, they let you go. So,
Right, right.
you know, basketball is a job. Being an athlete is a job, and at the end of the day, these organizations are going to do what's best for them. And I hate to be this guy, but they're all 95% of these organizations in every sport are owned by some rich white man or white family,
Right.
and Michael Jordan. Uh, so, so you think about how that plays a role in it as well. And there's just so many different dynamics. But I'll leave it at that. I just think that right now it's his time. If the Lakers can't do it with Westbrook, his career is pretty much over. LeBron got a ring, AD got a ring, LeBron got several rings. So now it's his time to shine, and I wish him the best. We'll see how it goes.
So the reason why I made the face earlier because you brought up the quote of him saying he doesn't want to win a chip, he just wants to feed his family and all of that. And I was trying to pull up an article from like 2015. Or he's trying. I think he says he's trying to like look out for kids in the hood, or promote the support the youth or whatever. Um, and the article was he signed a deal with Mountain Dew, like 125 million or something. And my thought is, how does that help anyone, right? Like we look at, and I think we'll kind of touch on this when we talk about fresh too, right? Look at the impact of individual choices versus the choices for yourself versus the long-standing effects and how your choices impact people. So like I was thinking about I was listening to What's Free when Meek Mill, Jay Z, and Rick Ross, and Rick Ross, Meek Mill was like talking about how all these young kids were sent to college, right? So you think about the average top tier rapper, right? Let's say they sell 500,000 albums, right, on their first week. That $500,000, those 500,000 albums, the content, right, the content of hip hop has been negative. It has been it has promoted all the negative aspects of like the black experience and what kind of fuels the negative stereotypes and how black people are portrayed. So I don't believe that sending 10, 20 kids through college has enough culture, has more significance or impact than endorsing Mountain Dew, which is a sugar, a sugar-rich drink that is bad and toxic for your body. I don't believe in promoting violence and hate and degrading women, and then saying, "Oh, well, look, we're sending these young kids through college." The the, the individual choice has more significant and long-lasting negative impacts. And I know that's kind of left, but I think our perspective is different. Like I'm looking at it on LeBron's aspect because, of course, he brought Westbrook in. You're looking at it as Westbrook just kind of doing what he needs to do for himself. Like he's at his wits end, right? Like he's been trying. He's like you said, he's been on a lot of different teams. Um, just never got what he really needed. So
Yeah,
I definitely get your perspective.
yeah. I think your perspective is spot on though. Like you know, history shows that anytime a LeBron team loses, the next year they literally wipe the team. They create a brand new team from scratch. They're just what LeBron does, and that's the impact he has. And if we talk about impact, I talked more so about Westbrook, but if you look at LeBron's impact, LeBron has opened schools, right? LeBron's
Right.
changed cities.
I think just a school. I don't.
Oh,
Is it plural or singular?
he's opened a school. Okay,
Okay. No, no.
you're right.
I just want. No, no. I just want to.
He
No,
opened one
no.
school. That's correct.
If we're gonna say, I want to just be accurate with it,
That's
right?
absolutely fair.
I'm not trying to get at you.
LeBron has opened one school. It is the Promise School. It is in Ohio.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course. And yeah,
but he's done all these things that basically he's the black messiah when it comes to sports. He's a straight shooter. He's doing all the right things, and it's
we
like
are witnesses.
it's great, right? It's great to see. But to your point, uh, and I hate to do this, but I just can't help myself. I always think that all these athletes and all these people that get all this shine, and then out of nowhere you hear that LeBron cheating on his wife. 10 years from now, we hear LeBron cheating on his wife. Then what? Right? Oh, we hear just something crazy, and then everybody's like, oh man, he's this crazy guy. Like he's not human. He's a
Right,
human. We make mistakes, and nobody's perfect.
right,
But it's just mind blowing to me because he's one of those players who, when you think about it, he's had essentially a perfect career. His career is more, uh, it's more, I guess, prestigious than even MJ in some ways, just from
right.
where he started to where he is now. And so yeah, I think this is a great convo, and I think it's important that we talk about it because you see different dynamics, um, and we'll dive briefly into some of what's happening in sports around mental health and athletes like yo listen, I had to do this for my mental health, and now mental health is being looked at it like a real injury, like you broke your
Right, right,
leg or like you sprained your ankle, and um, it's just interesting to see how, to your point of LeBron James, if he misses a game, I paid $200. It could be my last $200, or I worked 6 months at the plant to make this 200, and he ain't play hard. So
right, 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 right.
you bring up a lot of good points, and I think there's a lot there. We can definitely dive into it. I think, and definitely another time. But yeah, I think it's a great topic.
I just want to make one point and kind of what you said. Like, I don't want to position it like because it sounds selfish, right? Like, I spent my last $200 and it's he ain't playing me. And it's not really about that. It's not really about that. But I think it's just the kind of like the collective experience, right? The, the job is supposed to be entertainment, also, um, and I think it's more so. Yeah, I think it's losing that factor in terms of just just making it about self need and goals, which I understand. Like I'm all things self first, but I think that there's a collective and there's a responsibility in terms of effort to kind of bring up the next generation, right? Like so let's say like developing another player, right? So Anthony Davis injured, right? Who's the next player that has been cultivated to take his spot in case he gets injured? So now someone else is kind of losing their spot, and I understand that's the nature of the game. Um, but something interesting that is kind of like added on to my like I said feeling away about this is that LA criminalized homelessness. So starting, I believe August, I think it's August 15th. Homelessness is illegal in Los Angeles. So I'm thinking about like the duality of worlds, right? You have these rich athletes getting money and entertaining rich people who can afford the tickets, and now you have all these people who are going to be homeless in a month or so, and they have nowhere to go. Um, so my hope, as always, is like is hoping that there's a social responsibility to Westbrook being home, right? Like do something for the population, do something for the people that are hungry. Um, but yeah, that's me nitpicking, being one of those people to critique.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, but I'm gonna hold them. We could talk about it another
Right.
time. But yeah, I hear you. I agree with you. It's the same exact thing when it comes to looking at turning arenas into uh, testing sites for COVID for COVID.
Right.
Like is okay, that's cool. Like
Bigger issues, man. Bigger
right,
issues.
but yeah, this is great. I appreciate you bringing it up, and I don't think we necessarily need to jump into uh, Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka. I just brought them up earlier because I think they deserve the same kind of respect these white players are getting, like Aaron Rodgers and other
Right.
players that are talking about their mental health.
Right. Right.
Um, I just think that when a black person says anything about anything, we always get it just
I like that.
what
You say anything about anything, and
anything.
that's the truth, right? Anything about anything. Hi. Well, you shouldn't have said hi. I prefer hello. I said, right. You're right.
It just mind blowing to me, and it frustrates me so much because I watched podcast, or I don't want to say it was Fox because it wasn't Fox, but Fox has said things about it as well. Tucker Carlson and other people, but I watched someone call Simone uh, Biles selfish, and in my head I was like, this woman has won numerous medals for this country,
Right. Right. Right.
like numerous. In my mind, like I said, whenever you have an off day or off moment, especially when you're in the public eye, you could look at like shit. But if it's some white athlete, or if it's someone of a certain stature that is white, it's cool. It is like, all right.
Right.
They feel this way. So I'm, Naomi Osaka, Simone Biles. I'm with you. I'm with you, ladies. Um, there are obviously other athletes that have come out and said, hey, and I've done this for my mental health. I've done that for my mental health. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. If they have a problem with it, that's their problem. What we look, but we forget athletes are human too.
Right.
That's it. They eat shit, sleep. Like women, the women still they're no different than other people. They just get paid a lot more to perform a task that we can argue is they're being overpaid or they're getting people. They're humans. So
Right.
it just really frustrates me about anybody talking about their mental health and being ridiculed for it.
And I mean, I guess that's kind of the parallel to the NBA players, like taking time off, physical or mental health days. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like on one aspect, like I understand the job part, right? I understand the terms of representation and fulfilling your role, fulfilling your duty, or whatever you signed up for. Like for me, I always look at things as a social contract. But we're transitioning into a place where I think seeing how easily social bonds are just being pulled apart. More people no longer people don't feel like they have to honor their social contracts, especially um, at the cost of their own mental health. Like I've done enough. Like you said, I mean, how many awards does she have total, right? So I've done enough. I've pushed myself enough. Like let someone else eat. Let someone else eat.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, just to piggyback on that, so Simone Biles decided to withdraw because she didn't want to be a distraction to her teammates, It was for her mental health. That was one side of it, but it was also like, listen, I don't want to distract. I don't want the pressure that's on me to distract you guys. And
Right.
there are other players on her team that have one goal because she removed herself from the situation. Not only did she remove herself, but she didn't leave them. She didn't like come back to the stage. She stood there with them by their sides
Right.
and
Right.
supported
Right.
them.
Right.
I I don't. I just don't get it. Today's society needs to stop that bullshit. People deserve to be treated like people, especially black people. And I'm just big on that. We got to take it because they're not gonna give it to us. Um, so this young lady has killed it for killed it for United. I could see if she was a nuisance, if she was rude, if she had no, she's been a model citizen, and then she's like, you know what, I'm not doing too good. These are the things I need to do for myself, and she's being attacked for it. I got a problem with that.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
So real quick, 25 medals total, 19 gold, 3 silvers, 3 bronzes, and it's the like I guess the last point. To your point, you said she didn't dip. She's there. She's supporting, and again, I feel like this kind of ties into to the Lakers aspect. She didn't want to negatively influence her team, and other people stood up and did what they needed to, um, because that's the team aspect. That's the team aspect that I feel like is missing from I guess modern day sports. But
you got me fired up for this convo now.
yeah. All right, so let's. I mean, I definitely didn't think we'd rock out on this for this long, but yeah, let's talk about Fresh, man.
Yeah,
1994, Fresh, written and directed by Boaz Yakin, and it is available on. I watched it on Prime through the Paramount channel. I had a free trial. How did you watch it?
I was able to go into the hood archives because I definitely went to Amazon to watch it, and I did not have a free trial to
Uh,
Paramount, so I was able to get it from the DVD guy down the block.
right.
Let me stop.
So a
No,
dope cast. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I was able to watch it by getting it from a website. Let's put it like that.
Okay. I feel like it's counterproductive to be like, yo, never mind. I'm not gonna set us up. Let me set us up, right? But a dope cast. I think Breaking Star, Sean Nelson, Giancarlo Esposito, who is like well known for, I mean, a bunch of things. He's in the new Star Wars series world. He's in Breaking Bad. Samuel Jackson, who just always looks the same age no matter what year it is. So I know you said it wasn't your first time watching it, right? So what were your initial, I guess, reconnected memories like going into the show and watching the show?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it's a movie, but I'm coming.
Sure,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
you're
come for
right,
you.
you're right.
I'm not coming for you. You know
No,
how we
no,
do.
come for me. Like, yo, we supposed to look out. Yo, Cliff, it's a
Uh,
movie. Let's get like you ain't gotta. I don't understand people, right? Like, just correct my mistake. I'm all right.
well,
Correct my mistake, bro. I
I'll just,
think it's a movie,
I'll,
so you don't know either. What am I doing? What are we here for? If you don't know, right? What are we here
I'll just,
for?
I'll just mess with you because this is
I
what we
know.
do. But no. My initial thoughts uh, when jumping into it was it's so 90s. Like it took me back to being a 90s kid. Like it reminded me of
Right,
home. A lot of things that that Michael was doing. That's the main character, Michael and Fresh. The people. Different names for different audiences.
right,
But essentially, just how the film started out, and how they were showing the city. That's how I remember it. Literally, I was like, "Yo, this is my childhood. This is how I used to rock with my homies when I was in
right,
school." And yeah, it was kind of a blast for the past for me. I was really taken back by it. And like I told you, I've seen the movie before, but obviously I saw it probably sometime in 2000, early 2000s, um, and I didn't remember it, or it didn't hit me as much as it did now. one, because I was a different age and it was a different time frame, but two, I'm watching the movie specifically for this podcast. So
Right.
there were some things that stood out. But yeah, man, it just reminded me of, like, that's how I remember the '90s. Everything about it, like him walking the streets and playing in the playground, and the conversations he was having with his friends, and playing chess in the park. All that was, all those things is what I remember from home. Being from New York. So yeah. How about yourself?
So I realized that I saw this movie when it initially came out. My parents took me to see it. I think it was like the first movie we saw in the theaters. And like watching it last night, um, Erica watched the beginning with me. She's like, "Your parents took you to see this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like I don't think they knew what it was. And I remember like seeing Fresh as a kid and being like, "Yo, he looks just like my cousin. He's problematic, just like my cousin." But it didn't hit me as a child, right? Like I was just watching it. It was just storytelling. But like watching it as an adult and seeing the like going through the scenes, man, and reliving the '90s, like you said, right? Reliving the reality of what the '90s were. People shooting up basketball courts because they ball got stuffed. Some are block they shot. This weak, fragile egos, man, and I feel like that's what a lot of this movie shows. Um, and it's a sad movie, bro. Like it's a heavy and sad movie. Like as an adult watching this and seeing the the what my life could have, I mean, what our lives could have been, right? Like these could have been our experiences because we were growing up in that time. We both. I was living in Brooklyn. Were you living in Brooklyn at the time?
I wasn't, and to be honest, it was my experience.
Right.
Like, I did, that was my
Um,
lifestyle. So,
yeah. So there's like the one side of where it is the heavy, the drug game, the danger, the violence, the fear as a child. But then the other side, like you see Fresh like really living that life, and I think what I really loved about it was the I guess the kind of the duality of experiences. In most cases, right? I think in most cases, in most schools, in most situations, there's only a few kids like really living that life, and the rest of the kids just posing. Everyone's friend, like you look at his friend Chucky or Chucky. He said, you could call me Chuck E. Like Chuck D, but Chuck E. Right?
that
I
boy
don't
is
want to be
wild.
called
That's a
Chucky no
wild
more.
boy, man.
Right? And you look at all the kids in their baggy clothing and I'm thinking about the hip hop influence, right? And hip hop kind of creates this culture in the '90s, and part of it you end up seeing like the end result with the experiences of like Chucky thinking he's harder than what he is, right? He finally gets invited to hustle with Fresh, and now he got a squad. Now he's the man because he's affiliated with the man who knows the man. Now he thinks he's hard, but the end result, right? He thought he was hard because he had a gun, and he loses his life. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So just to clarify, when I said I lived that lifestyle, a lot of people may not know it's about me, and I'm sure you do. We've talked about it. Growing up, my mom was heavily on drugs, addicted to crack cocaine. So much of my childhood, both my parents are in my life, but my dad worked nights, so he couldn't take care of me because I went to school during the day, and at night he was at work. So I ended up in the foster care system. I was there for many years. I've been in many group homes. There was a time I was even evaluated in the psych ward because of my mom was using drugs, and her and I got into it. So and there's so much more, but I just wanted to clarify that because I'm not trying to be hard or trying to put something out
right,
there
right, right,
that
right.
I'm not. That literally was my lifestyle. Like, a lot of what I saw in the film is what I dealt with growing up, and I wasn't hustling or anything like that. But I've been around hustlers. I've been around drug abusers, or substance abusers, not just drugs, but substance abusers. I've seen that lifestyle, and I'm very, very blessed and to be able to be where I am today. And this film just brought out a lot of what I was going through, and it reminded me literally of growing up in New York in those times. So that's what I meant, and I think you bring up a great point too around how the like you said, the duality around Fresh, the duality between Michael and Fresh. Right? Michael was this
Right,
kid
right, right.
who lived at home with his aunt who took in all the kids because she wanted a better life for them, right? All his cousins and
Like 10, 11 kids total,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
he's kind of putting his front on for them, and then he goes to school, and one thing that really stood out there was he really valued school. The film starts out with him making a run, and he's like, "Yo, I gotta get to school. I gotta get to school."
Right, right,
And everybody else is kind of downplaying it. He's like dead ass serious. He's like, "Yo, I need to get to school. My teacher's gonna give me some shit for this." And he took education real serious. So he's playing both sides of the coin, and he's doing it in a way where he's trying his best. At I don't know how old he was. Maybe what would you say? 13, 14, 15, maybe even younger than that. I would say like 12,
yeah,
13.
yeah. I feel like early teens would be good.
And he's this kid playing these
12-year
roles.
old, sorry,
Oh, he's
it
12.
says it.
Okay, so
12-year old, yeah, yeah.
so he's a 12-year-old playing these roles that hustlers in their 20s and 30s can't do. And some of the things that he was doing like the way he spoke up for his sister and the way he didn't let people talk about him, to me was just so ill. Like, yo, this kid
Right.
has some balls on him, uh, and yeah, there's just a lot of really cool things that stood out, and there were a lot of sad things that broke my heart and made a lot of sense for me by the time the film ended.
Yeah, I was trying to, like, while watching it this time, part of my thoughts was wondering where did it come from? Like, where does this innate desire to care about family, to care about education, um, to kind of pre-plan and go through all these plans. Like, where did it come from? Like throughout the story, you see it unfolding with him. His dad is played by Samuel Jackson, and his father doesn't live with him because you mentioned he lives with his aunt. But he goes to I believe it's Washington Square Park to play
Yeah,
chess with Samuel Jackson, and Samuel L. Jackson his dad is just schooling him on a game. His dad's name is Sam. Sam is just schooling him on a game of chess and preparing. Um, like one of the lasting quotes that has stood out to me throughout my whole life, even watching it as a child, was when I think it's the second time they're playing, or maybe no, it was the first time they're playing chess, and he's like, Sam is saying, what kind of player am I, offensive or defensive? At first, just kind of pausing, he's thinking about it. He's like, neither. I play my opponent. If my opponent is on a defense, I force them into action. If my opponent is, attacking me, I make them get defensive. I shake things up, and that kind of became like one of my innate life philosophies in terms of just interacting with people, knowing that everyone is individual and reacting and interacting with people kind of based on that. And I think so some of his stance and some of his maybe most of his views on I guess planning comes from playing chess, like being a chess master. Chess is integrated. This is kind of lightly into the show, excuse me, I keep saying show, lightly into the movie. But I think it has the most significance in terms of seeing the end game. Maybe he sees his sister as the queen. Yeah, I think that might be it. Maybe he sees his sister as the queen because that's the only like real blood family he has in his life, and his responsibility is to get all the plays out of the way so that he can save her and himself from this crazy world, man.
yeah, you hit it right on the head, man. The notes I took were all along that, right? So there's this new Netflix special, The Queen's Gambit. Have you checked it out?
Uh,
Well, I won't go deeply into it, but essentially, it's a show about this young lady who is her mom dies in a car accident. Dude, and that's how the show starts off. Won't go deeply into it, like I said, but essentially, she ends up in an orphanage. She discovers that she's really good at chess due to a number of different things. Don't want to give the show away, but by the end of the show, she ends up basically putting women on the map as master chess players. It's like 7, 8 episodes. Um, Fresh watching Fresh was like the Hood Queen's Gambit. for me, like the black version of the Queen's Gambit. I feel like chess was a metaphor of Fresh's life. Everything that he did was a chess move. Everything, saving his money. There's a part in the film where he comes up with this master plan to get everybody to basically get out of the game. He's like,
Right.
I need to get myself and my sister out of this situation because all his friends are dying. And he's like, yeah, I need to. He never says it, but he starts making moves that allow him to do this. And he's been saving all this money. And people are asking him, which I thought was incredible when his friends are like, "Yo, you're making Chucky's like, you're making all this bread, and what are you doing with it?" And he didn't say a word. He
Right.
didn't like, "Oh, well, it's here, and I do this." He kept it to himself, and he moved. He let his actions speak, um, and I really loved, really, really, really loved how he he was still a kid. He still had those moments where he was shy around the girl,
Right.
and
Right. Right.
and he had those moments where his he let his father lead. He let his father teach him, but there was times where he like spoke up for himself, even to his father. And it just was that was those are kind of the rewarding things. But you look at how and I'm watching a film and I say to myself, this kid never has time to mourn. Like
Right.
people were dying in front of him, getting shot in front of him. Like he loses the young lady that he's into. I guess you could say it's his little girlfriend. Is it
Right. Right. Right.
shorty he feeling, she feeling him. She ends up getting shot. Then some kid that he's in gym class with ends up getting shot. The person that shoots the kid is basically one of the head dealers. So he knows the person. And right after that, he's in the police station not mourning, like not crying, not shedding a tear, not like literally like yo, this is the hood mentality. This is what a dealer does. This is my life. And as the film goes on, he just sees so much death, and he never mourns. And in my mind, I'm like, this is crazy. And obviously, at the end of the film, it finally catches up to him. Like
Right.
he just busts out in tears, and he it catches up. He has to. He's gone through all this because I I believe, and you can share your thoughts. I believe those are tears of relief. Like yo, I finally put myself in a situation to get the fuck out of this out of this game.
Right.
Um, and we could dive into kind of how it happened, but essentially he set up this master plan to put all the dealers against each other, and it
Right. Right.
worked.
Right.
It worked to perfection. He did it so meticulously and magical, like playing chess, like a
Right.
chessboard.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
so yeah, man, I was really hurt for him, and I'm hurt for him now. Thinking about the film, but the way it ended was perfect. Or was as good as it could to watch him just finally like release.
Right. Right.
Um,
I'm glad you brought that up because that was gonna be one of my questions. And I'll kind of lead into it. Just kind of talking about like the really emotional scenes, right? So I brought up people shooting up the park, right? He's playing basketball. One of the drug dealers gets crossed, right? The kid just does a little spin move on him. His ego is frail and hurt. He's like a grown man in his 20s. He comes back, shoots
Jake,
up, yeah, Jake shoots the kid, and it's great cinematography also, which I think is important to kind of give props to the director. You think it's just the basketball, the young kid that's playing basketball, but he's you see Fresh walking. He walks past the basketball that's been shot at his flat. He walks past his dying friend who's bleeding, and you see the little girl that he's crushing on, and she has her hands on her throat. She's just you see her legs shaking, and she's just twitching. He walks up to her, puts his hands around her throat, stop the bleeding, and he's just staying there.
doesn't shed a
Scene
tear.
fade, yeah. She stops moving. The scene fades out. He's just sitting there, just looking straight ahead. The cops bring him in, right? The the next scene where Chucky, or later on, right? Chucky doesn't listen, right? You think he's a gangbanger. You ain't listen. I gotta let you go, right? Chucky gets murdered. Um, he does the master plan where he's outside of the bodega, is watching all these drug dealers to shoot each other. He's just sitting there eating a Snickers bar. Eating a Snickers bar like it's entertainment.
Word, crazy.
No feeling. And then finally, right? Finally, him and sister are gonna be safe. They probably get moved to a different city or state. And he just walks up to his father
Well,
and what?
I'm gonna
Right.
stop you real quick because I think there's a scene that you're missing that's pivotal in this, and it's a scene when I can't remember what's the Hispanic dealer. What's his name? I can't.
Which one? There's a lot. Esteban.
Esteban. When Esteban is comes out of the room laying with his sister,
Right, right. And she's
and she
I
looks
think
strung
coked
out.
up.
Yeah, she looks
Yeah,
strung out, and he has Chucky with him, and Chucky's like, yo, he just banging your sister. Um, and the reason I bring that up is because all these scenes, this kid does not shed a tear. He doesn't show he, like any emotion. He literally
right,
just
right,
like
right,
you can tell as the film goes on, he just like put it in his memory bank, like okay.
right,
But
right.
go ahead, finish it. I thought that scene was important to add as well.
Yeah, I think every incident, like so, like even when oh, I also missed another scene, and thank you for bringing that up. After Jake kills his the kid that played basketball and the girl he was crushing on, they had a dog fight with Chucky because Chucky wants to fight their Rockwilder. And Jake comes in and Fresh is just staring at him. No, emotionless, right? Emotionless. So no one can read his face. He is the definition of stoicism, right? You do not know what's going on through this man's mind. Um, and so all you know are his words, and he's able to just kind of ring words together to kind of create the plot. He's looking at Jake, just no emotion. Jake looks at him, and then Jake goes about his business. After Chucky dies, Fresh takes their dog. And he's like, I think from what I remember, like once a pit bull like gets into that experience of killing another pit bull or killing another dog, killing another animal, it just something is unleashed in them, and you got to get rid of it, unfortunately. So he takes his dog, he takes his beloved dog that he's been fighting with Chucky. Like, nah, she's not gonna fight. He's not. I forget the dog's name. But he or she, the dog isn't gonna fight. And dog fights, dog wins. Chucky
Roscoe.
dies, and Roscoe. There we go. Thank you. And he takes the dog's leash. He ties it up on a fire escape. The dog is just hanging there, and he just takes the gun that Chucky had and shoots it. It's nothing, man. Nothing, nothing, nothing. So the final scene, right after everything is cleared, all the drug dealers or the majority of the drug dealers are dead. Esteban is on his way to prison. He goes to Washington Square Park, sits in front of his dad. His dad's like, "Yo, you're an hour late, man. Wasting my time." Blah blah blah. Just berating him, and he takes like Sam kept the chess pieces in like a brown paper bag. He pours them out. His dad is talking. He's just staring at him, just staring at him. And then he blinks, and the tears just come out simultaneously. And she just opens his mouth slowly. And I forgot the movie. I forgot the movie, and I'm just watching, and it ends. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think he says to his father? What do you think he says to his father?
I don't. It's such a powerful scene. The way you describe it is great, but I think the thing that is also is interesting about that scene is that majority of the scene while he's doing that is you just see Samuel Jackson's face, you just see Sam's face, and you just see him going in, and then there's a
Right.
quick shot of him, and obviously he's crying. But I don't know. I really I, I don't think he said like I think Fresh is
Well,
a
yeah. Consider at some point he has to say something. At some
I
point he has to say something. So what do
I
you
don't
think he
yeah
says?
I don't know. It's hard because I feel like he I don't it's hard to say because I feel like he just was free. Maybe he says I'm free, or maybe like you know I can move on, or like maybe something along those lines. I just don't even see him doing that. I see him just
Right.
sitting there crying, getting that shit out, and going on going on with his life. Like I don't see him having a conversation with his dad about that
Right.
because he never talked to his dad about gangbanging. Never. I don't remember him
Right.
having a
Right. Right.
conversation ever about him dealing drugs. He talked about his sister, so maybe he tells him she's safe because the father, Sam is the father of both Fresh and his sister,
Yeah, Nicole. Yeah,
Nicole. Yeah. So maybe he's like, Dad, she's safe. She's good. She's safe. Um, because that was something that he took great pride in, is being there for his sister.
right,
Um, and he made sure that not only was he there for his sister, but that nobody came for his sister. He was like, yo, you're not gonna talk about my sister, and obviously she was someone who was on drugs and was doing things, but even with that, he let her do what she did, but he kept a close eye. He knew
right,
he
right, right.
knew he knew how her cards are being played or her pieces being played. So to stay on topic and answer your question, I really believe he probably just was like, she's safe, or Nicole's safe, Dad, or she's good, or it's over, or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I was leaning along the lines of like we're free, or we're leaving. We're getting out of here. Those are the only things that kind of stuck out to me. Um, but also, I forgot you said something a few minutes ago. You said that he's always keeping an eye out on her to make sure um, things aren't too bad for her. So thinking about that scene, thinking about the end result of them both being free and the police saying, "Yeah, we'll put you somewhere else." But then also thinking about Nicole, right? I think Nicole is an important character to like really dive into, um, because she says, I forget, like there's different drugs like Esteban only sells cocaine, like that's just his thing. Uh, Heck, I mean, there's
Smack.
heroin, smack. Yeah, there's all these different. I mean, and they use a lot of coded drug language, and different dealers only sell different things. And he kind of used that against them, like like when he was playing the plan out, he was like, oh, the other drug dealer, I think it was Hector. He's like, wait, I thought he doesn't sell that. And he's like, yeah, well, he's just he's trying to move, he's trying to move in, whatever, just really upselling it. But I remember his sister saying something along the lines of like either being with James because he has like the dope smack, and then thinking about the scene where she's in bed with Esteban. I don't want to say strung out. I'm not sure if it's like that. Like for me, like seeing that scene, it looked like she was on heroin, just because seeing her body gesture and seeing like her eyes is glazed over. But thinking about she's with Esteban. Esteban only sells coke, so I don't know if cocaine doesn't leave you kind of laid out like that.
Also,
Um,
I don't think she was on heroin because uh, when the film starts, you see Fresh talking to like one of the, I guess it's somebody he's running. He needs to pick up from,
right,
and he's counting. He didn't even count it, bro. He felt the way. It was like, yo, this is
right,
off.
right, right.
And then they, like you said, the cinematography. They pan over to the woman's arm, and you see her. You can
See
clearly
the
see that
tracks, yeah,
she's shooting up, but you never
right,
see that with his sister at all. They never show his sister in the whole
right,
film doing any type of drugs or being shot up. I don't think she was using heroin. I definitely think it was a crack, and I also think
right.
uh, not to I don't want you to lose your thought, but I also
No,
think she a lot of the times we saw her, she wasn't strung out. There was only a couple of times we saw her where she was like really doped up, but there were other times she was cohesive, like she was there,
right, right,
coherent.
right.
She was
But
there.
I think yeah, I mean I definitely agree. But I think that's also we you only see her a few limited times, right? So my general concern, right, is that he's he thinks he knows what's best for her, but her actions and her choices showed me that she still wants to live whatever that lifestyle is, right? When she's with James initially, Fresh goes to speak to Esteban, he walks in with Chucky and she's on the couch, and Esteban's like, thank you for bringing her back to me. And like initially, right in the previous scene when he was talking to her, he's like, oh, I'm not gonna be some Spix nigga queen or something like that. So like there's this defiance of not wanting to be viewed in a certain light, but then you see her still kind of going into that darkness and that dark world. And in one of the last scenes when he's in one of the apartments that Esteban has, cops come over because he had a cop's contact card and he sent the cops there to create a scene to set Esteban up. So the cops come in and they're like, we heard there was yelling and fighting, and he goes to Nicole, and she's like, no, there's like none of that's happening. At first, she's like, she's scared. He said he gonna kill her, and he's creating this tall tale to make the officer believe that his sister and that both of their lives are in danger. But his sister says, this nigga's lying,
Yeah,
right? Remember
straight
that?
up. Yeah,
This nigga, not he's lying. This nigga, like
yep.
he's just nobody. This nigga's lying, and I felt a way about that, man, and that made me think that it doesn't end well. I feel like the story doesn't end well for them. I feel like all his hard work is for nothing because of the language. Cause at no point do you see his sister just having this realization, like oh, like he cares and he's like trying to look out for me. This nigga is lying. Like he's just somebody off the street, man. And kind of tying to what his last word is. I also wanted to ask, like, what do you think the next story is? Like, thinking about what we've seen and know of his sister, the language she uses, and how much Fresh wants to kind of escape that world and save her. Do you feel that Nicole honors that? Do you feel like Nicole is? I mean, whether it's clean, like I'm not sure if he was really upset about his sister using drug, but do you think she's happy to kind of be free and away from all of that? Because it seemed like she kind of enjoyed the lifestyle to an extent.
Yeah, well, two things come to mind. One I definitely want to bring up is that there was not one time in the film that I saw. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Where he actually supplies his sister with drugs.
No,
Not once, which is something I thought was very important because there's a lot of films I've seen, and even in the lifestyle, you see family members hook other family members up, and yeah, I'm in the game, but I'm not. You're not gonna get it from me.
right,
so,
right,
so that was something I thought was super powerful. But to answer your question, I actually agree with you. I think that it doesn't end well. I think that she had no problem being who she is and where she was. Um, you know, I feel like at the end of the film where he's like, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna put you in witness protection." He's like, "Yeah, but what about my sister? My sister got to
right,
come." And the face she makes, basically, like, leave me out of it. Like, I don't want to
right,
go.
right.
That this kid loves his sister, but his sister don't love him. And maybe she
No,
loves him,
no,
but
nobody loves him. Do you feel like we're starting to? Do you feel like anybody loves him?
well,
Honestly,
I feel like his dad sh- showed him love the best way he could.
right.
I feel like there was we don't hear much about his mom. We don't hear much about I know I think she passed away, but that's all I know. I don't even think they bring that up. Um, and his dad, uh, it's assumed that his dad can't take care of them or his dad is strong. I don't know because he was like, I'm not supposed to be around you. I'm not even
With
supposed to be
you,
talking
yeah,
to you.
yeah,
And so I was like, maybe there's a restraint or like I don't. Maybe there was something that happened with his mom and his dad. They don't really go into that. But I do believe his dad loves him. I do believe his sister might have had love for him at some point, but the game took that away from her. And I actually do believe that Esteban and some of these dealers had love for this kid. Like he was great at what he did,
right, right,
and
right,
they loved him for it. And that's why he was able to set them up the way he set them up.
yeah.
He wouldn't have been able to do that if they didn't have some type of love or respect for him. Um, and the way
I think respect more so,
I'm
right?
just saying,
Yeah,
I just feel like the way, uh, Esteban always made sure he was like, hey, you want to eat, you want to, like, I feel like because he was doing what he was doing at a high level, there was a level of love, but it's not like love from a family member. It was more so like, I love you for making sure my shit is running, my
right.
business is running, um, because he was in Esteban's houses, he was one of those kids that everywhere he went, he was welcomed in every room. There was even that scene where he goes and he's like, "I need to talk to." I forgot who it was. Heck,
Was it
maybe
Hector?
Hector.
Maybe.
And the
Yeah,
guy's
yeah.
like,
I'm
"I'm Hector."
Hector.
He's like, "Man, get the motherfucker Hector, you pussy bitch." And so he calls him out his
Right, right,
name,
right,
and
right, right,
it's
right,
like,
right.
"Yo, go get Hector." And to me, it was scenes like that where he earned his respect in the game, and that allowed him to have these conversations. Um, so yeah, I really believe that his sister is, if they made a fresh two, we would see him going to the hood trying to get his sister back out because she
I like
literally
that. I like that.
she was in them streets. That's just
Right, right.
she also gave her she also thought she was more than what she was. I felt like there was she was like,
Well, what does that mean? What does
yeah,
that mean more than what she was?
I'm about to, yeah. I think that there were times where she thought she was in control of the situation, and she wasn't, based on her being, an abuser of drugs. She basically told Esteban, she's like, "Yo, you don't own me. Like
Right,
I go where I want to go,
right.
and
I see who I want to
I
see.
see
Right,
I don't belong to nobody, right?" And it she says that, but all her interactions, she looks like she belongs to these people. Like
right, right.
she's literally in these situations with these people, and that scene, the scene where she says that is actually a scene after. Pretty sure it's a scene after we see her naked in the bed with Esteban. It's not before; it's after. From from
Yeah, it's when the cops.
yeah. So that was later on.
Yeah,
So so in my head, I'm like, I'm calling bullshit because I just saw you strung out naked with this guy who kisses you with your brother. Like, so it looked like somebody that owned you to me. It don't look like you there by choice. And then you come back and you like, nigga, you don't own me. I go where the best drugs are. That's where I go.
right, right,
I
right,
go
right,
where
right.
wherever the best is. So yeah, I definitely see her wherever she goes, unless she got like into rehab or got that, gone through some type of program. But I don't. Yeah, I don't see her taking that route because the lifestyle she lives, she wanted to be in.
Yeah, I like that you brought up control, and you brought up the example of him being at Esteban's house, and Esteban offering him food. And throughout the movie, you see that he is always in control, right? As a true chess master, he is always in control of every situation. So, like one of the early scenes when he's sitting on a car selling, and he has all the lookouts. The dude is like, how much for a pop? He's like 5. He's like, I give you 20 for 4. He's like, man, I know math. 5 times 5 is 25. It's $25. Um, he doesn't allow anyone to have any control over him or even to think that they have control over him, right? So that, like, the scenes where he's going to, I forget the black, is it Corky? Yeah, Corky. He goes to Corky,
Yep.
and he's like, oh, like I need to get paid. I need to get paid, right? And he plays this victim role well, not so much being a victim, but like seeing that he's here for he like I need what's owed to me, right? It's not I need you. I need what's owed to me. I need what's owed to me. So like the scene with Esteban, Esteban offers him food, and he says no, and I think the real reason is showing that he doesn't. You never want to show people that you're dependent on them. You never want to show people that life is hard. Like, oh, food, like, damn, yo, I haven't eaten in weeks. Like, nah, I'm good. Even if you're starving, like that's something my mother taught me. Even if you're starving, right? I'm good. I have food at home. I don't need you to take care of me. I don't know you. I don't need you to have any type of dominion or think you have any control over my life. And I think that's that ties in again with the chess scene. Or I guess sorry, the chess theme. Um, so like to kind of bring it to modern day, right? Like I was trying to think of what would like a modern day fresh look like, right? Like the drug game isn't what the drug game is in the '90s, right? So my first initial thought was like, is he hustling sneakers or something? But what would a modern day fresh kind of look like, or what themes are we still kind of going through where history repeats itself in, with a story like Fresh?
Can I make a quick point?
Yeah, yeah,
So I disagree with you. I actually do think someone does have control over him,
okay,
and I believe it's his teacher. Um, and it was obviously a very short scene, but there was a lot of significance in that for me. How the film starts out and he's just really focused on getting to class, but even when he gets there, there's no talk back. There's no come for her. There's no
Yeah.
disrespect. She's like asking him like, "Hey, why are you late? Why are you late?" And obviously he can't tell her the exact reason why.
Right.
And then he goes to his locker, gets his books, you know, and then then he discovers that he didn't give all the drugs to one of the drops. But when he goes to sit down, she tells him, "No, no, 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 you can't sit next to Chucky.
Right.
You got to sit somewhere." And I just feel like how she talked to him, he didn't. There was no pushback. There was no call out of her name. There was just a
Right.
level of she just did what she said. Um, so I do feel like there was someone, and when I say control, I may be a little, it may be a little deeper, but I just think in that situation, from an educational standpoint, from a respect standpoint, you never see him call out a name, and we saw him call many people like motherfuckers, bitches.
Right. Right. Right.
Not once did he disrespect his teacher. Also, he didn't really disrespect his aunt, but they didn't really have much. I think he was thankful, but um, so I just wanted to make that point. I do think the teacher and education was something which you never hear his father talk about. You never hear anybody emphasize education for him.
Right. Right.
He
Right.
just
Right.
kind of knew. Um,
Well, no, I think I guess there's 2 points. I mean, what you kind of brought in, I think it really just is respect. I don't think it's control.
yeah,
He disrespects her. He doesn't respect any of the drug dealers because he sees what they're doing. He's just using them as a means to an end. And I think Esteban did bring up school once. I think Esteban didn't bring it up. Like, I'm always looking for you, but you're always going to school. And he's like, I respect that.
okay, yeah, I agree. I think it's more so respect, and it really bothered me the home life, like how his grandmother didn't speak to him. He came and he's like, "Hi, grandma." She kind of like straight ignored him, like paid
Right.
him no mind. And his aunt, she seemed like a
Ashamed.
yeah, his aunt seemed like a nice person, but she, having to take care of all these kids is not easy. And his aunt, someone who's like, "Hey, I'm gonna, I want Nicole to stay. I want you to be with the family. We love you here." And willing to give up her bed. And she's like, "Yo, you can stay in my room and stay in my bed. I'll sleep with the kids." And Nicole's just like, "Nah, nah, I'm good." And then even Nicole saying, "Nobody loves me," and Fresh is like, "I love you, like I love you."
Right.
There's so much of that happening that just was it was it was hard to watch. It was definitely hard to watch. So, um, but to answer your question around, I guess on modern day Fresh, I don't know. You're right. The drug game's different now. Um, I think a lot of it now is I don't know. There's so many different things that people abuse these days. It ain't it ain't drugs.
Right. Right.
You got the gamblers, and um, I feel like there's a lot that I see. I could definitely see. What popped into my head immediately was like an episode I watched on Vice with like these call scams.
Right. Right.
I,
Right.
I could see him doing something like these international calls and getting people to send you money, maybe something like that. Or there's a lot happening, which is very very sad around prostitution and the prostitution of young women. Especially in some of these. I know there's a lot happening in like Atlanta and Miami and some of these states where young women are coming up missing and they're being essentially put to work from a prostitution standpoint. So maybe him getting into something like that, but I don't know, man. Like you're right, the drug game obviously is still out there, and we have people using a lot of it is medical drugs like
Yeah. Yeah.
opioids and oxycodone and all that stuff. So a lot of it is that, but yeah, there's so many different areas he could. I could definitely see him like running the table, like I got this.
Right. Right. Right.
So yeah, I hope that makes sense. But
No,
yeah,
no, it does.
yeah,
I was thinking scams for the most. I was thinking PPP loans because that's like the most recent scam that people have been doing. So yeah, I definitely see scamming. Um, I guess like the second part of the question was, what are some of the issues we're still dealing with from rewatching the movie? What do you think is still lingering or ongoing? What's still culturally significant? Um, like one thing that stood out to me, and it sounds weird, right? So I had this thought like a while back, like listening to rap, listening to artists, and every time they make a reference about drugs and the supplier and the dudes hooking them up in the hood, so it's Poppy, so it's Poppy, Poppy getting me the drugs, Poppy getting me connect, right? And then they're selling drugs to the community, um, and so there's always this high regard for Puerto Rican and Dominicans and Cubans for their connection to the drug game and them kind of being the overlord of drugs and black people just kind of being the workers. So initially, I went into this film just like, it's going to be one of these things again. But I was happy to see Corky just, have his own thing, man. I was happy to see Corky have his own thing. I thought about New Jack City, and feeling like New Jack City is probably maybe like one of the few black kingpin drug movies. And I guess really just kind of comparing it to, I guess, like the language in hip hop. Like no one, I mean, granted, we have like Nicky Barnes, Alpo from Harlem, but I guess in rap, it just feels like the majority of it is, giving props to Hispanics who watch black people pollute their own community, um, and part of the problem. So, hey, I don't have a transition. I gotta finish that thought. Go ahead if you have anything. Sorry.
Well, what was the question again? Because I lost it.
Um, I guess ongoing issues or themes from the show that are still going on culturally.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess I was looking at it on a racial aspect. Yeah, I mean, yeah, so is the racial aspect, right?
yeah. That's it right there. Like you look at gun and gang violence in these cities. Cities like Chicago, um, and it's just it's running rampant, especially during the pandemic. You actually, I know in some of these cities, a lot of the gang violence kind of went down for a little bit during the beginning of the pandemic,
Right,
and then it just kind of just started going back up. I know here in Philadelphia, where I live, the murder rate, especially when it comes to like innocent bystanders, is crazy. It's ridiculous. The innocent people, kids, children are being killed, um, and that's something we saw in the film where you had this young man get shot for no reason, and then you have the innocent bystander, this young woman who literally, they're playing in the playground, and she ends up shot. So obviously, gun violence is something that is huge, and I hate to go back, but it reminds me of what you were saying, where you have these athletes who sign these deals, but gun violence is running rapid in these cities. And I'm not saying go downtown Chicago, and but maybe
right,
that's what it
right, right.
takes. Maybe it takes the Chicago Bulls team to have a week where they're cleaning the streets. Um, but that just popped into my head where you talk about these athletes who their impact is so big. Why not have these conversations? But also, we have to keep in mind too, a lot of these people come from these backgrounds already. They already have ties to these
Right.
backgrounds. So some of them still have ties, but they they distance themselves. Um, but to stay on topic, I think when it comes to where we are as a community, as a nation, I will say I don't, and I'm going on 35 years old. I don't see many young people out here slinging drugs at 12 years old.
Right.
I just don't see that. It's not something I see.
But
Maybe
they're shooters now though. That's right. That's
that's
the unfortunate. I'd rather them sell drugs than be shooters, right?
but
Like,
that's the point.
that's not.
That's going to be my
Yeah,
next point. You
yeah.
hear
Sorry.
them taking off each other. You hear them getting into these little gang wars and territory wars and shit like that. But you know, the, I don't I don't I don't know how the I'm not in that lifestyle anymore, so I really don't know how the drug game is these days, other than to say that there's so much happening from a law enforcement standpoint too, where you have these specific divisions, and back in those days, there weren't divisions like there are now, where there's a
Right, right,
narcotics
right,
division, and they may have been, but they weren't as fine tuned as they are now. You got like cyber divisions and social media divisions in law enforcement, that I don't necessarily remember growing up. Um, so yeah, I hope, yeah, I think that is kind of where we are now.
right. And I guess one thing that kind of came to mind, and it was a note that I had earlier. Like the thinking about going back to like fragile male egos, and thinking about how, like going back to respect for Fresh, right, and how much respect these older men had for him, that he was able to kind of weave this tall tale, and they believed him. Um, but also thinking about how dumb they are, right? Like, like when he when he said that he was like slinging on the side with Jake because Jake and Jake's man's, I think his name, I lost the page. They were trying to take over Corky's business. I think it was Smokey. Jake and Smokey, he's like, nah, Jake and Smokey say they can't wait to kill you and take over your business. And it's like you've been working with Jake for like 3 years. Like, yeah, he's a hothead. Yeah, he's all of this. But you're gonna take a 12-year-old's word over it. And granted, again, he set up the pieces lovely, right?
Lovely.
Corky called Hector. Hector's like, well, like, no, I don't want no problems. Like, you said you want to go call me, but I don't know, man. It's like my initial thought, like just now, I was thinking about like how the Black Panther Party kind of fell apart, right? Just having the FBI send notes to different black gang leaders, and just creating this fake tension, and how easily things get dismantled from miscommunication, and through fragile egos, right? Instead of like having a conversation, having to sit down, you just you let the narrative kind of work, and it's easier, right? It's easier to. I mean, granted, like Corky's also paranoid, right? Like in the first scene where he first meet Corky, they're playing cards, and Corky's talking to Fresh, and I think it's Smokey or someone else that
Yep.
works for Corky. They pull a card. He's like, "What the fuck you doing?" He's like, "Yo, I'm getting a card." He's like, "Don't you ever do anything behind my back?" He's like, "But it's my turn." He said, "I don't care. I don't care. Don't ever be sneaky and do anything behind my back." So you see the paranoia that's innately in him. So I definitely get that the paranoia and the fear and the ability to easily. I mean, maybe Fresh saw that, right? Maybe
I
that's
was about to
maybe
say.
that's
I was about to
yeah,
say he
maybe
took a
that's
mental note right there. He was like,
that was like this dude has a weak ego, and I just
"Yep,
have to play to that. So like for James, it wasn't really anything. James wasn't a heavy player, so he used the heavy hitters, right? He used Corky to get at Jake from Jake murdering. I mean, like so I want to assume that Jake was the one that kind of robbed him, but he used Corky to get at Jake to clean up his work. He used
oh, you mean robbed
Esteban.
him, robbed him and Chucky?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like for
it
me, I
had
really feel like it was Jake.
it was Jake because how did they end up getting the drugs? They had to get it off.
Right,
They took it off of Chucky. That's
right.
how they
But
got
no,
the
remember
drugs.
he switched Chucky's bag and he put rocks in Chucky's bag.
No,
Remember
no,
when,
no.
when he went to that?
Yeah, but he dropped both bags. He
Right, right, right,
switched
right, right.
he switched one
I thought
bag.
I thought I thought he switched. No, I thought he switched. Sorry, go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, he switched one bag, and
Okay,
He gave Chucky the off bag because he knew Chucky was bugging. So he switched he switched one
right, right,
bag,
right, right, yeah,
and
right,
then he
right,
took
right.
both bags, and then he dropped them both. He dropped his, and Chucky dead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He didn't. He
And
just
that's
ran.
yeah, and that's what allowed him to have the two bags to place into the bed. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
and then when what's you just said the guy's name, the dealer. I always forget his name.
Corky, Jake,
Corky. When Corky,
Hector. Okay.
yeah, when Corky was talking to him and he opened the book, he was like, "Where'd you get this from?" That's what Jake took from Chucky
Right, right,
when he killed Chucky. Um, which once again, you bring up a great point. Throughout the first, half an hour, 45 minutes of the film, everything that's happening, you could just see him taking mental notes.
right, right.
Just taking like you just see it. They show his face and he's just sitting there stoic, mental note. I'm glad you brought that up because I think when Corky did that and he took a mental note like boom. But I also think which we don't talk about is the money. Everything is money, and the fact that he saved his money and used that money because 12-year-olds don't do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah, they were somewhat naive, but also most 12-year-olds don't move that sophisticated. Like his plan worked because he had the money to back it up. If he didn't back it up with his own bread, all that, the whole plan wouldn't have worked. But the fact that's why it's hard for me to believe that when I first saw it, I was like, yo, I took notes. I'm like, man, it's great to see this young man saving. He's trying to get out the hood. I actually believe he was plotting a long time. He
Right.
was like, yo, I'm gonna get these guys. Yeah, I'm gonna get these guys. Because the whole thing with his sister, with that first scene where he's talking to the I'm gonna call him the bitch, but he's talking to the dude that's like kind of watching over the women, and he's like, "Yo, don't talk about my sister." That first scene in my mind, I feel like he was plotting. He was putting the pieces together. Um,
Right.
so that's what made it work. Yeah, the adults are naive, but I also think a lot of it worked because he put the puzzle pieces together. But it was because he purchased his own drugs. He purchased his own dope, put his money where his mouth was, and everybody's in their mind is like, "How the hell is this kid? He didn't come up with this bread." That's what Jake was saying.
Right.
Jake was like, it was funny when Jake like put it together. Jake's like, maybe he's the one that got the
And
dope.
he's like, I'm gonna get $5,000, right? Where am I gonna get $5,000 from, right? Yeah.
So it was just well thought out, chess board. Even when he hustled the guys in the park, that was. Well, he didn't even hustle the guys, but he like played the guy, and the guy tried to hustle him, and he smacked him. Like he
Which scene? Sorry.
the scene. I think it's like the first chess scene when the Hispanic guy beats somebody in chess, and then
Right.
Fresh
Got
is
it.
down, and he's like, "Hey, I got money." The guy's like, "I don't want to play," and the guy, he's like, "Yeah, I got money." He ends up beating the guy.
Right. Got
Um,
it.
Even that scene, I feel like he was always one step ahead of the game, always. And then finally, when he was able to get when he was able to essentially checkmate, it was time to release.
Right. I like that you bring up that scene. I'm thinking about when he's with he finally goes. I think maybe for the first time goes to Sam, his dad's house. I think he's in a trailer, and he's talking about all the different chess. Sam is talking about all the different chess masters he's met. Um, and he's like, yeah, he's good, but he's like, put him on a clock, I'll smoke his ass, right? He's like, these people haven't dealt with real pressure. And I was thinking about um, how, always thinking about culture, right? So thinking about, white chess masters and the lifestyles they're traditionally used to. You think about like a lot of great chess masters have come from Russia. Like Russia's a harsh country to live in, right? But you also think about the inner city youth, right, and the lifestyle they have to go through. Right? You think about someone like Fresh and the lifestyle he has to go through outside of the world of chess, and being able to kind of, like, it balances out, right? Chess, he already innately lives in a world where they're king and queens and pawns, right? He's already innately living in that real world. Chess just makes it into a situation where he can control and learn how to move the pieces around. Um, so like going back to the first scene where he's playing the Hispanic guy who, arrogant initially,
Yep.
he sees that. So the guy again, he uses that to his advantage. He plays his opponent. He knows that this guy thinks he's all that. You're just a kid. You're not good. But once the kid gets you in check the first time, like, what? You start sweating. Now you're under pressure. Now you're off balance, and that's how you beat people, right? You always play your opponent, man. You always play your
Yeah,
opponent.
he actually says he's like mating 3 or 4, and the guy's like, nah, and then he makes a move, and he's like, now it's mate, and then the next move was mate, and he's like, now you lost quicker.
Yeah, he said it could have been a four if you were smart or something like that. Right, 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 right.
So yeah, like I said, man, I was blown away by his composure throughout the film, and how he just played his part. He played his part, even when he like takes the gun out of the car after Esteban tells the guys to get rid of the car and the gun, and and he just does that so seamless. He's like, yo, I I gotta go do this. I gotta take care of this. So I gotta.
Right.
But when he gets to Esteban's house, he's like, my aunt wouldn't let me in. Like he always had. Uh, he was always ready for whatever someone had to throw at him. Um, and not only from the hood perspective, but even to the cops. One of the cops was being super. The cop that was calling him, "You want to be in the zoo with the animals?" Da, da, da. And he
Right,
just
right,
was
right.
stoic. A stoic. He was just like, "I got nothing to say. I got nothing to say." And if that was me, I'd be like, "Who the fuck are you talking to, my dude?" Like other people. You know how many people? break under that type of pressure, and you got this kid who's just like, I got nothing to say, got nothing to
Right,
say.
right.
So yeah, I just I really love how he was able to mastermind the plan, complete the task, complete the objective, and like you said, we don't know what's next, but hopefully, whatever it is, his sister get her shit together. Um, and yeah, I think overall the film just it's really good stuff.
What would you give it? I mean, I probably we've never done a rating, but how would you rate it overall?
Out of what
10.
I would probably, you know, based on us talking about it for the podcast, I'd probably say like an 8 or 9.
Okay.
Um, it's just because I lived that lifestyle, so it reminds me. It was extremely authentic. Even some of the scenes the graphic scenes, they happen so quickly that it just catches you by surprise. You're like, oh shit, what just happened? Kind of like
Right,
jump out of
right.
your seat for a second. Um, so yeah, and I thought it was well written. The storyline was great. I wish there was a little more background about him. That would have been nice. Just about his dad and his mom and how they got to his aunts.
Right.
That would have been that would have been good to know. But and how he got into the drug because initially I thought he got into the drug game because his sister. That's how they made it sound. But I don't know like how he started doing like maybe they show a flashback of maybe Esteban going up to him and being like, hey man, you want to make some money or something. Um,
I feel like it's from his sister. His sister is viewed as like just this beautiful prize throughout the community. Right, Samuel Jackson, sister Sam talks about how beautiful she is. Everyone, all the drug dealers he talks about, everyone that talks about his sister talks about how beautiful and lovely she is. So innately in the hood, right? If your sister is someone that's chased after, people try to get in favor with you through your sister, just like Esteban did. And he was like, thank you for bringing her back to me. So yeah, I think his sister was kind of paved the way
it
because
just
his like I looked it up real quick, and they do label his sister as a drug addict, which I didn't like. I think we said earlier, um, it didn't seem like that. I mean, a few scenes, we see her in different areas, but we never seen her like being an addict. But she is described as being a drug addict, so I think that's kind of the easy way to get into the game.
yeah, but she also what I didn't understand is that she seemed like the only woman in the whole city. Like I that threw
No,
me
no,
off.
you had the fiends, right? The fiends who was like, "Yo, like, come on!" Like he said, "Yo, please talk to Jake." He's like, "Tell Jake, I'll top him off right now." She's like, Jake, Jake only mess with fine sisters." And she's like, "Yo, how about you? I'll suck you off right now." He's like, "Yo," he slaps her, right? He said,
Slaps her.
"Yo, get the fuck out of here." And she's like, "Come on, yo, let's go in this car right here, yo, this pussy good." It's crazy, man.
Yeah, but
It's crazier because like that's really how it was, man. That's really how it was back then. Like thinking about that at this age, like that's really how it was back then, man. That's really how it
but
was.
but but his sister and that woman wasn't the only women in the whole city.
No, no, I understand that, but that's what it's his story, so it's gonna be local to the
I'm just
women
saying.
of his story.
I saw. I was just so. I didn't really understand why they were so mesmerized by his sister. Um, and I,
No, I mean
everybody was mesmerized by his sister. Everybody.
right, but every hood, every block, every area has one woman that everyone wants. His sister was that woman. I
Yeah,
mean, that's my experience. Yeah.
yeah. There's one woman that everybody wants, but there are other women that everybody people get. Like there was literally, you had Esteban's wife, because I guess he says you're married, and his child, and he's putting the child to bed. But other than that, you really don't see. And at the beginning, you see the 5 or 6 women. That's pretty much it throughout the film. But like you said, maybe it's because of his story. So that makes sense. But I was just like, yo, his sister, she's alright. Like, alright, cool. Like, but there's so many other women in the world. Like, so you tell me when his sister Nicole when she's with Esteban, James is not doing that. He's sitting at home twirling his thumbs. Like, nah.
No, but that's the game, right? We're going back to fragile male egos, right? The point is that I want to own you. I want to have you as a woman because everyone wants you, right? That's why Esteban is supposed to be the kingpin. Everyone wants to be the kingpin, right? So not only do you run the streets and you own the streets, you have the baddest woman that everyone wants. Yeah, you're doing what you want to do. Yeah, you're sleeping around. Just like Nicole said. I spend time with whoever I want. But as a man, your ego denotes that you should have everything and anyone and have the baddest of it all. I mean, I think that's part of the culture and experience.
I,
I mean, I hear you,
I
but I think
accept.
like there's no, that's not acceptance. I hear you, but there's logic and there's like reason behind all of that,
Well,
right? She's the prize for everyone.
yeah, I just
I mean, whatever the reason is, right? We don't know why she's the prize. You don't. I mean, I think she's a beautiful woman. I think she's a beautiful woman,
no.
right?
She
Like,
is a
and I
beautiful woman. That's not
and
the
I
point.
no, I understand that's not the point. I'm saying that um like number one, I think it was dope that they revered his sister this much in the hood, right? Because traditionally, dark skinned women don't really get that much love in movies. In the past, like now it's better, but I think it's dope that they showed her as this prize for everyone. Esteban. I'm not sure if Corky was interested in her, but the dudes that made comment that were working for Esteban, and James. Everyone had this natural desire and craving for her. I mean, I think it's dope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They definitely did a great job with that because I also was saying to myself when he was outside selling drugs that he was selling to white people. It was no black. Like it was like a white guy that came up in a car, and then another white guy came up, and it was just cool to see that they didn't just have these black people strung out that he was selling to.
right.
I don't even think he sold to a black person other than talking to that woman, the light skinned woman. But it was just two white, these two white men. They look like they drove up, and even the one that try to hustle them. Um, and I definitely appreciate that because black people, we're not the only people that use drugs. So let's
Right, right.
they debunked that shit quick. Um,
And real quick, I just want to know his sister's played by, I think it's N. Bush, right? She's also in Dead Presidents and Blade. So
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, I think overall, just to kind of close out on this, unless you have anything else you want to add. Um,
no, nothing major.
yeah, we'll close out on this. I think it was a great film to choose. So good, good pick. Um, those of you who actually listen to this, we definitely suggest you check it out. Um, where can
Those of you who actually listen, they listen. If they listen, they
no,
listen.
no, I'm saying people that are listening to this,
I know.
definitely check out the
Listen,
film. Where can they find it again, Cliff?
it's on Amazon Prime, but I think from your experience and from what I now realize, you need a Paramount Plus account also.
Okay, so Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus account.
Or you can find
Um,
a website. You can
nope,
find a website.
don't take my my route. It took me a while, but I was able to I was able to find it. That's hilarious. But yeah, this is kind of our. Uh, I guess this is kind of where we would leave it off and go into next. If you want to stay up to date and definitely stay up to date in everything we're doing, you can follow us on IG under a Black Culture Podcast. We also have TikTok now, which is very exciting because I'm a person that doesn't rock with social media, but I am also on TikTok. So thank you, Cliff, for that. So you also can follow us on TikTok, also under a Black Culture Podcast. Um, and yeah, just stay tuned. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode. What are we doing next? Do you know?
Real quick, if you're listening and you want to watch, we're also on YouTube. Nothing Moves Without Us, a Black Culture Podcast. Our next episode is going to be. Are we do? Do you want to do a clubhouse for this? I guess don't always leave with that.
No, I think the clubhouses we should leave to the TV shows because that's
Okay.
yeah.
Um, I didn't even know we talked about that, but okay. That's a big decision.
We've only been doing it for
Uh,
TV shows.
no, we did it for 444.
No, we didn't.
And
We did not do
yeah,
a clubhouse.
we did.
Uh, uh,
We did two clubhouses. Oh, sorry, we did one Family Matters. We did one, and we did a second one for whatever the second theme was, and I think it was 444 or a
no,
testimony. And we were talking
the
about
second one we did was last week.
No, that was the third one. Remember the second one? The first one we did, Family Matters. I think that's when Temmie was there. The next one we
Oh
did was
no,
when
we
we
did
had
Dead
the
White People.
blind dude from
We did Dead
Dead
White
White
People.
People.
You're
Okay,
right. Yeah,
okay,
you're right.
okay.
Okay, so yes, we're
Um,
gonna do a clubhouse for this one, and we're gonna edit out everything we just said. I'll edit it out, but yeah,
no, it's all good.
we'll do a clubhouse.
So we'll do it. I mean, this thing is a clubhouse. We're taking the month of August off to regroup and just kind of see different ways we can kind of get this out there a bit more. So we'll be back, I believe September 9th, maybe. I have to look at the final day, but we'll be back early September, and we'll post an update when we're coming back. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening. Until next time.
Peace.